Max Torres with Ducks Digest here with a big Oregon football recruiting update on Tuesday afternoon, early evening hours. Oregon may be the new team to beat for five-star LSU wide receiver commit Dakorien Moore. I'm going to tell you why I think that is the case in this video. Seeing that the five-star LSU wide receiver commit took a trip out to Eugene over the weekend, and the Ducks have certainly given him plenty to think about. We're going to throw some highlights here on the screen. You see his junior season, 69 catches for nearly 1,500 yards and 18 receiving touchdowns. Dakorien Moore is ranked the number one wide receiver in the country, according to the 247 Sports composite, the number 4 player overall, and the number one recruit in the state of Texas. 5'11", 175 pounds out of Duncanville, Texas, Duncanville High School. So I got a recent interview with Dakorien Moore, who has been committed to LSU since August of 2023, but he took a visit out to Eugene, and that was a really important visit because Oregon has not let up in the least since Dakorien Moore committed to LSU. I think that they have certainly stayed in the picture and stayed involved here. And when I talked to Dakorien Moore, you can read the full story over on ducksdigest.com. He had a lot of really good things to say about the Ducks, the direction of the program, and really just kind of what he thinks about the staff. I'm going to get into some of those quotes here. I asked him why he wanted to take the trip. Obviously, that question makes a lot of sense because anytime a commit as high profile as him takes a trip, it's going to raise some eyebrows and kind of get some intrigue. He said, quote, "They've been showing me a lot of love since the beginning, actually. I really feel like it was real, genuine love. I feel like when it comes to Coach Adams and Coach Lanning, I can really trust him or what they're saying." So relationships obviously play a big part here. And can we just talk for a second about how well Junior Adams has been recruiting? If we're just looking at the wide receiver position, he has some awesome recruits that the Ducks signed in the 24 class. More recently, he flipped Ryan Pelham from USC, a big-time receiver recruit out of my neck of the woods, Long Beach Millikan. And then, of course, flipping Jeremiah McClellan from Ohio State out of St. Louis Christian Brothers. That was a massive one, what has really kind of become wide receiver U in recent years. Definitely worth a shout out there for his efforts. And then the Ducks also went into the transfer portal to snag Evan Stewart, the number 1 ranked wide receiver in the transfer portal from Texas A&M. Maybe an added bonus is the fact that he has 2 years remaining. So Oregon certainly has some momentum at the position. When you couple that with Troy Franklin setting records, program records for the Ducks before he heads off to the NFL draft here in 2024. And then you also have to look at the position in 2025. Dallas Wilson, big-time wide receiver out of Florida. He was in Eugene for a visit recently. You also have Adrian Wilson out of the state of Texas as well. Pflugerville, Texas, Weiss High School. He's already in the fold as well. So Oregon is really doing a tremendous job recruiting the wide receiver position. And one of the things that was an interesting highlight from my talk with Dakorien Moore, I asked him what one of the highlights was, and he basically just said the recruits that were there, which is insane. When you think about it, I said before the weekend, this is probably one of the best recruiting weekends in terms of just the sheer talent that I've seen the Ducks host. And I've been doing this for about 6 years now. So he said, quote, "Just being around the players that was also being recruited down there. You got Dallas Wilson, who's committed there. You had Jordan Davison from Cali. It was a lot of good recruits down there that they were also showing love to. It's unexplainable, man. It was a lot that they showed us, and it's really just a different place down there." So other recruits are taking notice. Not only have they bought in with a couple of commitments here, you have 4 verbal commitments for Dan Lanning the Ducks here in 2025, but their ability to attract top tier recruits is something that is also clearly moving the needle here, getting the guy like Dakorien Moore back on campus. And what's interesting about this is I asked Dakorien Moore, what's the pitch? What's Oregon kind of selling you, right? What's the vision? What's the appeal? That kind of a question. And he said, quote, "I would just say relationships. That's really what they preach down there. Relationships, focus, and football. It's easy to focus down there. There's no distractions. And being that they got relationships down there, it makes it really easy because everyone's feeding everyone. Everyone's keeping everyone focused. Everyone's making sure that each other's grinding. Nobody's jealous. It's just another culture down there, man. So again, that's something that is obviously super sustainable for Dan Lanning is the culture that he has built around the program. You see guys that are going to battle for each other. They want the best for each other. And it's kind of like we see in the videos, Ducks versus them type of a deal. So that is having a trickle down effect here, clearly with Dakorien Moore. And man, if you can add the number one wide receiver in the country, that would be phenomenal. He'd probably be the highest rated wide receiver that the Ducks have signed, I think, since Troy Franklin in the 2021 class. I have to look to see how he was rated because he was certainly a highly rated guy. He was the number 54, number 41 player nationally when he came out of Menlo Atherton in 2021. And then Jeremiah McClellan was number 65 nationally. He just signed in the 2024 class. And then, you have Ryan Pelham, who is another blue chipper. So he would be the highest rated recruit at the wide receiver spot, I believe, that Oregon has signed since Troy Franklin, if the Ducks are, in fact, able to get Dakorien Moore to flip his commitment. But there's a long way to go. Obviously, it's only February, and signing day is 10 months away. But just asking Dakorien Moore more about the appeal for Oregon and kind of what stands out. He spoke a lot about his relationship with Dan Lanning, saying, quote, Dan Lanning has expressed to me how much Oregon means to him and stuff like that since he got there. He's rebuilding a lot down there, and I know he's not doing it for nothing. So I really feel like that's where he wants to be, and how bad he's recruiting me. I know he wants me there with him to be along the journey so we can get that championship. Oregon's obviously looking for the first national championship that they've ever captured. And I think that also has an appeal. The appeal may be a little bit different from going to a historic blue blood that has won national championships, but in a weird way, maybe that's part of what Oregon has going for them. The fact that they haven't done it before and that Dan Lanning is doing all the right things to become that first coach to take Oregon there, and having, you need good guys to do it. And I think that's something that Dakorien Moore has been very receptive to. And then you also have Junior Adams, right? That relationship's really big. I didn't even talk about how they also landed Gatlin Bear, the 5-star wide receiver out of Idaho. He's the latest commit for the Ducks. But Dakorien Moore said, quote, Coach Adams, he's nonstop been showing me a lot of love, my family a lot of love, welcoming us with open arms. Their whole staff in general just welcomed with open arms. But that's not too different from a couple other schools. It's just, I feel like theirs is more genuine. It's nonstop the whole weekend. So this is kind of when we get down to the nitty gritty here, right? Why I think Oregon might be the team to beat for Dakorien Moore. I asked him what kind of impression they made, and he said, I would say it's a hard, great impression. They're showing a lot of love. I would say it's matching LSU. But as you would expect, Oregon is not the only team involved here. Ohio State is another school that's still in the mix that he mentioned. You also have Texas, the in-state Longhorns always do. They place a priority on keeping the top talent in the state, but it's hard to build, hard to keep the top guys in state when you have other programs like Texas A&M also involved. Baylor, TCU. There are so many programs in the state of Texas, but seems like it's kind of narrowing the focus a little bit, right? You have Oregon, LSU, Texas, and Ohio State. But I think Oregon has, just based on the people that I've talked to, a source very close to this recruitment, I think Oregon probably has positioned themselves to have the strongest relationships out of any staff in the country, because you have Junior Adams, you have Dan Lanning as another guy that is recruiting Dakorien Moore personally. You also have a guy like Antonio Parks, who's from the state of Texas. Obviously, he has done a good amount of work on the recruiting trail since he got to Oregon. I think he's been one of the more underrated additions that the staff has made, coming over from UTSA with Will Stein, and then also spending some time at Arizona State. So I think Dakorien Moore is a guy that, if I'm not making a prediction right now, but I would not be surprised if we're looking down 10 months down the line now and Oregon ends up signing Dakorien Moore. That's how strong I think their momentum is here in this recruitment. Now we're going to have to see if Dakorien Moore maybe decommits. I'm not really sure. That would obviously be the next step in all of this, but he said that there's a long way to go pretty much until signing day. He said his commitment wasn't closed. So there's a lot of time for more visits. And I think that Oregon is certainly going to be incredibly tough to beat, in this recruitment when all is said and done. LSU's got a lot of momentum. You got the number 1 quarterback, Bryce Underwood, committed in the 25 class. You got the number 1 running back committed in Harlan Berry. So Oregon has their work cut out for them in terms of the competition that they're going to have to overcome. But after signing the top 5 class, I think they finished number 3 in the 2024 recruiting cycle, the best class ever. I think that Oregon has shown they're more than capable of pulling something like this off. They also had DJ Pickett, a top 10 player in the country, on campus recently for a visit. Cornerback, safety, he kind of does it all out of the state of Florida. So they're bringing all those guys to campus. They've been able to sign some tremendous classes, and I think they have all the momentum in the world. Continue to keep an eye out on Dakorien Moore and the Ducks, and make sure you guys tap in with me on Twitter at mtorresports, and I am at mtorresports on Instagram as well. Read me over on ducksdigest.com and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Oregon Football Max Torres, and make sure that you like the video as well and share the channel. But thank you guys for tuning in and supporting the channel. And this has been another Oregon football recruiting video.